Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who's a cynic, and today I'm going to be giving my full review of Ocean's 8. So let me start off by saying that this is a film that when I first heard about it, when I first saw the trailer for it, I just thought to myself, is this something that we really need? Is this a story that really needs to be told? Are these characters that really need to be given the light of day in a lot of ways? And I had that reservation going in before the actual movie took place, and then I actually saw the movie tonight, and I have to say that it pretty much remains the same with that, because in the end this film just wasn't necessary for a lot of different reasons. And I know some people might say, well, what about the other sequels to the other ones, after Ocean's 11, weren't those films not really necessary? And you would have an argument there that they weren't really necessary, but the reason why those are just, for me, better is because at least those were extremely entertaining. Those are films that I can even turn on now and still really enjoy myself watching them. This is a film where I have no real need or desire to ever watch it again, because are there funny moments in it? Absolutely, but they aren't enough to really drag me in. And since this movie essentially rehashes a lot of the same story elements and plot points almost verbatim from the original films, it just comes across as this carbon copy that only exists because they wanted to put a bunch of female actors in and just leave it at that. And that's just not enough to make a good movie. You need more than that. You need more substance. You need really great character development. And instead, all you really get are these hollow shells of characters that you really don't care that much about. In fact, I found myself caring because there are a lot of cameos from the original people who were members of the original films that come in. I cared more about them because I remember the characters that were set up by them, and I remember the stories that were set up by those characters in the original films, and I ended up caring more about them than about these new characters. And when that happens with a film, that's just not very good. But just to give you a brief synopsis of the film, so this is the story of Debbie Ocean, who is the estranged sister of George Clooney's character Danny Ocean from the original series, and they play off saying that Danny Ocean has apparently passed away. They, remain consistent with this throughout the whole film, and again, I'm really not spoiling anything here because they pretty much put that out there right away, and it's something where I feel like, I guess it's a way of trying to say, okay, the old franchise is dead, the old franchise isn't coming back, and so now we have something new. I don't know if they wanted to create a new franchise with this or not, and I'm going to get into the box office numbers in a second to talk about why or why not this might not actually take place, why or why not this movie might actually make enough money to justify a sequel, but we'll really see what's going on with that. But anyway, so Debbie gets out of prison. She has just spent a 5-year sentence because she was caught 5 years previously on a con, and she got caught, and over the past 5 years she's been planning this scam. She's been planning this this attempt at the Met, where they're going to try and steal a piece of jewelry that's worth over $150 million. And then she meets a friend of hers, Lou, who's played by the brilliant Cate Blanchett, who's fantastic in this film. And then over time, they bring in a bunch of other people, a couple people that they know, a couple people that they don't know, who are just really good at their jobs. And it's, again, pretty much that random cast of characters that you saw in the original films, only this time every single character is a woman. And again, there's nothing wrong with that on its face. My biggest problem with it is that they should have just having the same actors, obviously give or take a couple, like Mindy Kaling, who is just there, and also Rihanna, who is also kind of just there, give or take a couple of them, and made an original story that maybe had similar elements to it but wasn't an actual Ocean's film. Instead, I feel like this kind of tries to piggyback on the original Ocean's franchise to try and bring in some of those people who like those films, and it doesn't really add anything to the overall story. Again, it does expand the universe a little bit because it gives you a better understanding of the family, of the Ocean family, and I guess that's kind of interesting if the character was really that compelling. Even though Sandra Bullock does a great job, even though all the characters, for the most part, a lot of the actors in this film, because Helena Bonham Carter to me is probably the most compelling character in this film. She was the one I cared the most about. She was the one that I found the most entertaining overall. And, Anne Hathaway has some bits that are pretty great. But for overall, Helena Bonham Carter is just fantastic in my mind. And even then, though, it's just not enough to really make me ever want to see that character again, and it's not enough to really make me want to actually see the story continued going further. And so overall, I'm gonna have to give this film a C-. Again, it's not a terrible film, it's not total hot garbage. It does have some fun to be had, so if you kind of just want to go to a movie and maybe pay $5 to go see it during the week or something to that effect, you might find yourself enjoying it, feeling that it's worthwhile. But overall, I wouldn't say that you need to hunt down this film or buy it on Blu-ray or anything like that. And it's just one of those things where I feel like it's going to be slowly forgotten in time. And I know that some other movie reviewers have talked about that, how there's really nothing special about this. It really doesn't, again, pull you in. The characters really aren't that compelling, and I think that just really talks a lot about, again, the what they were trying to do here, and also what they've been trying to do a lot in Hollywood, because you see this, obviously we had the infamous 2016 Ghostbusters that just, again, had no reason for existing and ended up bombing. This one's a little bit of a different story. So for this film, they made this film for $70 million, and so that was the overall budget, which is pretty small in comparison to a lot of other, big budget films, but it's still enough to where they're going to want to, sorry, lost that for a second, that they, obviously it did not cost a whole lot to make. And so far, it has made roughly $115 million. And so overall, it's actually not doing terrible. It's actually doing pretty well. And again, going back to my previous video where I talked about overall box office totals, assuming that this is at least 50% of the cut, since we're now in the second weekend, this film is likely going to make around $230, maybe a little over that $250 million tops. Again, that's pretty much the highest amount that it can make. And if you take 60% of that, it ends up being roughly around $140 million, and so it ends up doubling its overall total. So it ends up making a profit, and about a $70 million profit when you actually take in the overall numbers. And again, we're not really taking anything into for marketing with that number, but in the end, it's still going to make a profit. Now, it's not enough of a profit, though, in my mind at least, to justify making another film. Now, I don't know if that was the plan. I don't know if they were trying to make a new universe. I know that's what they were trying to do with the new Ghostbusters in 2016, and it utterly failed, and that movie totally bombed. It lost money. This one, on the other hand, will actually make money, but I just don't think it's going to make enough money to justify a sequel, and I really don't think that people are really going to remember this film going forward. I think it's going to be one of those movies that comes out on Netflix. It's going to be one of those movies that comes out on sale on a Blu-ray or anything. People see it and say, oh, I didn't even know this was a movie, or, oh, this movie actually is now out on Blu-ray. Maybe I'll go buy it. Maybe I'll go see it. It's one of those films where you're like, well, maybe I'll actually check it out. Again, I don't know. But for me, again, I would say, maybe some people might really like it. I know my wife really liked it. For me, I just was, I chuckled at a couple of parts. There were definitely a few funny bits in there, but overall, it's kind of forgettable. It's really not necessary, and it does kind of live up to that, that thought that I had before seeing the film of it just saying, well, why are they making this? Why is this necessary? That does continue on after seeing the movie as well. So anyway, have any of you guys seen Ocean's 8? Do you have different thoughts about it? Please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe as well. I would greatly appreciate it. And also, if you like this review, please share it with others as well, because I would also greatly appreciate it. It would help me out a lot. And have a great day, and as always, God bless.